All right, guys, moving on to our third bit of movie news today, and that is Wonder Woman 1984. You guys, this is, it's heavy news because there's no news officially yet. And I guess that's the whole point of like this particular article is that the news is that there is no news. We know that Wonder Woman, I know, right? Wonder Woman 1984 was originally supposed to come out in the summer. It got pushed back to October. It got pushed back to December. It's in its third release date of its announcement. And there is a very real, very credible chance that it is going to be moved again back into 2021. Where in 2021? Who knows? So there's a lot going on with this. There's a whole domino effect with Wonder Woman 1984. Not just with the film itself, but in terms of movie theaters, what's going to happen to movie theaters, what's going to happen to other releases, and what's going to happen to movies that are currently in theaters, what's going to happen to the films coming out later next year, you know? So Warner Brothers is faced with a really, they've had their backs put into the walls here. COVID has really done a number on the film industry, and that is an understatement. So the way I see it, I feel like Warner Brothers has a few options here. One, let the film come out on Christmas Day and let the cards fall where they may. Two, push it back to maybe like a February, March release, which isn't really going to do that much of a difference anyway. Three, push it back to a late summer release, or push it back to like an entire year from now, Christmas 2021. That's a very real possibility. You know, things that were not even on the table to be considered yesterday in a COVID world now might actually be considered and may be our new reality. Wonder Woman 1984 is a huge, huge tentpole film. You know, there were a whole bunch of tentpole films for 2020. We had James Bond, No Time to Die. We had Black Widow. We have Wonder Woman, Tenet. Like, there were a lot of tentpole films. Tenet being probably the biggest of any of these tentpole films that actually was released. It actually was released. It's been in theaters for almost 2 months, maybe 2.5 months now. And it has only amassed $350 million. Now, that sounds like a lot of money. $350 million sounds like a lot of money. But the studio still lost money. They needed a bare minimum of $600 million just to break even. That includes the cost that it took to make the movie, to advertise the movie, and then pay the movie theaters that are showing their film. They needed a minimum of $600 million just to break even. And they barely made half of that with $350 million. I would argue that Wonder Woman 1984 is a more popular IP. I feel that it has a bigger fan base than Tenet would or does or did. I feel like Wonder Woman 1984 has the potential to make more money in a COVID world than Tenet did. But being the things as they are, the world that we live in, Christmas Day has always been a popular day for people to go to the movies. But we also know that cases of coronavirus are on the rise, both in the United States and outside of the United States. Europe has shut down in I believe 6 countries, Germany, France, Spain, Portugal, Italy, and I want to say Poland, have closed their movie theaters. Done. That's a huge part of the box office, a potential box office. So, but then again, if the film is pushed back to next year, a year from now, 6 months from now, what implications does that mean for movie theaters in the here and now? How are they going to survive? And not just the theaters, but the studios themselves. Jonathan, this could not be more complicated, and more could not be riding on the shoulders of Wonder Woman 84. Like, what are your pros and cons? How do you see this? How do you see the chips falling here, and what implications do you think are going to come out of it?
By the way, I thought you put that marvelously, Mike. You summed everything up in just the perfect way as to what's going on.
Oh, thank you.
Um, yeah, every time I was about to think about making a point, you then went ahead and made it. I was like, well, there we go. Just said that.
Well, there it is.
Um, I think once Tenet didn't make back its money or do well, that was it. It was done. I think every other movie theater went, we are not, I mean, movie production company went, we are not going to do that. Or sorry, I should say the distribution
Mm,
companies said, we are not going to put stuff out just to have it disappear and not make its money back. Something like Wonder Woman 1984, as big as a tentpole as it is, as you said, there's nothing about it that is so intrinsic that it needs to be shown now. Because even taking place back in 1984, you are not saying that this is a movie that is of our times. So you could wait an entire year to release it, and then it will still have the same impact that it's going to have because there's still going to be people that are really interested in her, and there's still going to be kids that are going to be really interested, and there's going to be girls who are going to want to see
yeah.
it. So they could wait a year and make back their money. Otherwise, it's just a big write up. I felt like everybody was watching to see how Christopher Nolan's Tenet went, especially because Christopher Nolan was so adamant about the movies being shown in the theaters the size that he wanted it to be,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
and it just didn't work. And I then think that every other distribution company that has the money in that is said, we're just going to wait. As far as what that does to movie theaters, um, that's a really great question, because I do live theater and I've already come to acceptance that we are not going to do a lot of live performances until a year from now.
Yeah.
I think the vaccines come out by the middle of next year, and then it's going to take 2 or 3 months before most people are able to have the vaccine. At least certainly outside of the United States. I think you'll still have a lot of people in the United States who may not take the vaccine, which is going to create complications. But as such, you know, what Dr. Fauci said is you're not going to be able to have people in groups. I know that like in Birmingham, England, they recently had live performances in 1,000-seat theater, and they limited it to 200 people, and they sold out their entire weekend's worth of shows at 200 people each.
Wow.
And these are live theater, not movie theater, and people came out to the live theater crying because they missed live theater so much.
Wow.
So seeing live theater performance will come back when it is safe. I believe the same thing is going to happen to movies, is because even though the experience that you have when you're in your own place, or if you're with your roommate, or if you're with your family, that's one specific experience. But there's still something that can't be replaced about going into a movie theater surrounded by a movie screen that large, and just having that experience. That is part of human species. That's part of what we appreciate. That's not going to go away. But how everybody stays afloat between now and then is a completely different thing. Um,
I agree. I mean, you made a point earlier about there's nothing about the movie Wonder Woman 1984 that says it needs to come out on Christmas Day. I agree with everything of what you just said. But again, the implication is, if the movie theaters don't have anything to show, if they don't have anything big to show, are they going to even survive the pandemic? And if they don't, what's gonna, like, is the movie just gonna get shelved? Like, are they gonna release it on PVOD? Like, how's that gonna go?
there will be, similar to like a lot of the theaters that are happening. Go back to Shakespeare, the Elizabethan theater after the plague. During the plague, the Black Plague, theater shut down for 5 years. There was no live performances for
Really?
5 years.
That I did not know. This is interesting.
Yeah. And then when it came back after the plague was gone, that's when Shakespeare and Elizabethan theater took off. So theater actually got better after the Black Plague than it did prior to that. During 1918, 1919, when we had the last virus that was here, the pandemic,
Mm-hmm.
theater shut down for a year, year and a half. It came back. So movie theaters weren't around back then. They will come back. Now, who owns that movie theater and who's in charge of those movie theaters is a completely different thing. There will be massive movie chains that will go bankrupt and go under, but someone will buy them and there will be other stuff made. I think that in the future, movie theaters are going to almost try to be more like home theaters because they're giving you so much luxury. I saw one of the last movies I saw live, I saw in India. And in Bangalore, India, every chair was like a huge sit at home chair where you would be in this big cushioned home seating chair. It had all this electrical stuff on it and it had waiters and you could order from the chair the food that you wanted and they would bring it to you. And I know they have some of that in America, but in India, it really was like they were. It almost felt like I was in a private box at a sporting event, and I think that that's where movie theaters are going to go more in a direction of. I think that you'll see more luxury being put into the movie theaters, and then you'll have sort of underground movie theaters that will sort of be the equivalent of off Broadway movie theaters,
No,
where people are just getting together to screen films, and people will go to movies. But I think that in the future, the economics of how it's all going to get done has to include that you will only show it in live for about a month, and then you're going to sell it to a streaming place, and that's going to affect things.
huge.
I know that movie productions are still ongoing as well as TV productions. They are making a movie about an event that happened in my father's life, and they're going to
That's
start
right.
shooting
I
that.
forgot about this.
Yeah, they're going to start shooting that in November or December. So movies are starting to come up again. They're finding ways how to do it and keep it COVID safe. The last episode of Fargo was shot under COVID conditions, so they're definitely finding ways as to how to do it. But once it gets done, it's going to have where it goes, how it goes is going to be different. But there will still always be movie theaters.
No,
Will there be a movie going out to 2,500 movie theaters? I don't know.
that's a fair point. Now, here's a question that I have for you, and not necessarily tied to Wonder Woman itself, but you earlier you were saying, we love we as human beings we love the movie theater going experience. We just love theater in general. We want to go out. We need that social environment. Whatever form that takes, whatever that looks like, theater will come back, and probably stronger. I think this is a fear that I have, and I know that a lot of other people share the same fear. And let me talk specifically AMC theaters. AMC theaters has my favorite movie-going experience, period. It's the Dolby Cinema Theater. If you've been inside the theater, you know it's 4K projection. It's perfect surround sound. It's specifically designed to give you the perfect audible experience in a movie. And then just the chairs themselves, like the full recline. You're not too close to the people next to you. You're also not too far away. There's every single Dolby theater I've ever been in, there's not a single bad seat in the house. Even if you're front row all the way in the corner, still not a terrible seat, like we've come to know before. So I think a fear that I have, and I know that a lot of other people share with me in this, is that AMC theaters is not looking good right now. They're $5 billion in debt, and that was pre-COVID. They went into COVID being $5 billion in debt. Now, it was a calculated risk. It was a smart risk because they upgraded all of their movie theaters, all of their amenities, and gave the customers a wonderful product. But then COVID hit, and they weren't able to make any of their money back. Second of all, they've already borrowed $50 million to try and keep themselves afloat, and it looks like they're going to be borrowing even more money to try and keep themselves afloat. In the event that AMC theaters just goes kaput, what are the odds? What are the chances that somebody else is going to buy out? Like, of course, they're going to have to go bankrupt if everything just goes, tails up. They're going to have to file for bankruptcy, probably Chapter 7, and then all their properties just get sold off to the highest bidder. Do you think that a Dolby AMC theater experience could look the same as what we've come to expect over the past 2-3 years?
Yes, I think that I think that some people are gonna. Uh, I don't know if somebody's gonna buy all of it. I think that might even get broken up and sold into different things. But I definitely think you're gonna see an even higher, more, even greater luxury style movie experience. You're gonna see what that already was, and what you were describing at AMC will continue. Maybe not at all of those places, but at some, certainly in bigger cities. And then again, I think that there's going to be some stuff sold for parts. Um, yeah, I don't think AMC is going to continue and exist, but I do think that someone's going to end up buying them and someone's going to do something with them. If anything else, maybe it'll be somebody who's like a billionaire who already owns a baseball team and, thinks it would be fun to be able to own all the movie theaters.
We can only hope and dream, Jonathan. We can only hope and dream. Anyway, guys, big question is for you. I know we got off topic a little bit. We started with Wonder Woman and then we ended talking about like the future of movie theaters, but that's the reality that we live in today. What do you think about Wonder Woman? Do you think that it's going to keep its Christmas Day release date and actually maybe have a chance at earning some money? Or do you think the smarter thing for them to do is push back 6 months to a year after things have started to become, hopefully, fingers crossed, a little bit back to normal? What are your thoughts? Jump down to the comment section below and let me know. All right, guys, everybody, thanks for watching. If you like this video, click like. If you really like this video, click subscribe. And if you really, really like this video, click share. Because that is exactly what Scrooge McDuck would want you to do. DuckTales, woo!